Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler.
Good day, Lock Shoppers. Welcome to The Lock Shop presented by Play Alberta Live right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Matt Iwanyk in for Dusty. Huss is going to join us momentarily as it is Thursday. It's the start of week 8 in the Canadian Football League. So as we do on Thursdays, we go through all the games in the CFL. Lots to get to. Calgary hosting Montreal tonight, Edmonton and Saskatchewan tomorrow, Winnipeg and Toronto on Saturday, Hamilton in BC on Sunday. Breaking news. The Edmonton Elks depth chart has now been released, as we talked about on the Hangout, Hernan and myself. Cody Fajardo getting the start for the Edmonton Elks. He is listed as the starting quarterback at this very moment on Play Alberta. The line, well, it's been pretty consistent outside of the opening of the game. It was minus 9.5. for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. It opened quickly like minus 14 or something like that. But then it's been consistent at minus 9.5 for the Riders. So the Elks 9.5 point underdogs. Any other major changes to this lineup that we don't know? Everything else we kind of knew about. Metier is not going to start at safety. Bynum's on the 6th game, so he's not there. Jake Stresna is listed as the starter, so we'll have lots to get to when it comes to the Elks and the CFL this weekend. I want to remind you, well, first, thank you for listening on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in, iHeartRadio, Apple Music for those watching on YouTube or those listening on podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, be sure to subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcast. All the shows have different podcasts. It's not all under one. If you could subscribe to each and every one of those, it would be greatly appreciated. The promo codes for the month of July with Edmonton Sports Talk and Play Alberta, it is EST Sports. When you deposit $20, you'll get a $50 free bet. YEG50, deposit $5 and get a $50 free bet. When you go to Play Alberta, you download the app, you click on EST Specials, and we've got some specials there right now. The NFL special, it's the Baltimore Ravens to score 1+ rushing touchdown in each regular season game this season. That's plus 1,500. CFL total teaser. I think this was from the Lock Shop yesterday with Dusty. Als Stamps under 25.5 or 55.5. Elks Riders under 60.5. Bombers Argos under 58.5. Ticats Lions under 49.5. That's boosted to plus 321. And then Dusty has thrown out some early bird bets, as well as his play of the day. Stampeders to win. Dedrick Mills, anytime touchdown, that's plus 102. And then Dominic Rhymes today to have 4+ receptions. That's minus 125. What has Rhymes done this season when it comes to those numbers? Dominic Rhymes this season, 4 catches, 5 catches, 1 catch, 3 catch, 4 catches. But the last 2 games, it was the 4 and 5 I said there. And Dusty has that at 4+ receptions. So he's been targeted a lot. Last week was targeted 10 times against Winnipeg. Against Saskatchewan was targeted 6. Against Ottawa earlier was 5. Against Toronto 8. So he gets the targets. VA does like going to Dominic Rhymes. So that is a pretty nice play there as well. Again, Play Alberta, playalberta.ca. One thing actually I just realized we'll also have to talk with Huss. We talked about it. It broke during the Hangout. It is the passing at 71 years old of Hulk Hogan. Huss being a major wrestling fan. We'll definitely get his thoughts when he joins us momentarily here on Hulk Hogan passing. Actually, with that, Benny, you're over there right now. Does Hulk Hogan passing do anything for you?
Like, I'm not the biggest wrestling guy. Obviously, I've heard of him. But I was never like watching him growing up. I've recognized obviously what he looks like and everything. I was always like, oh, that's Hulk Hogan. He's one of those guys that like just growing up, you're like, you just know who he is. You know the name to the face. Like I don't have to guess who he is. I know who he is.
There's no because you would have been just way too young for any of that.
Yeah. I wasn't. I don't think people my age were.
Were you into wrestling at all?
No, not really. I have a couple of friends that were. But for the most part, like for me, I was just too invested on hockey and football and all that stuff.
Well, I always found that like you talk to anyone, at some point they were a wrestling fan. Yeah. But I'm wondering if maybe the younger generation don't have that as much.
I think we've lost a little bit of it.
Yeah. Because I remember having the conversation with my sister-in-law once.
Yeah.
And I said that, and she's like, my brothers didn't like it. And I was like, I guarantee you they did.
Yeah.
I guarantee that at some point they were into wrestling. And she's like, I don't think so. So they texted her brothers, my brother and her texted, and they're like, yeah, I watched it. And I was like, see?
Yeah,
See?
there you go.
We all did.
Yeah.
We all did. Let's bring him in. It is Huss from Winnipeg Sports Talk. Huss, good seeing you. I do want to we will talk CFL today. Lots to get to. Starting with the sad news of today, Hulk Hogan passing at 71. You're a big wrestling guy. And how big of a deal is this for you?
Well, I mean, listen, let me tell you, brother. No, listen, I'm not going to speak in Hulk Hogan voice today. But, I mean, listen, the guy was a cultural icon, to be perfectly honest with you. And, as he finished up being a true superstar in wrestling, but was still a massive character. There was a bunch of things that happened away from the ring and the business, shall we say, that maybe sullied his public perception in some ways to some. But I mean, as far as when we talk about the wrestling business, where it is today as a multi-billion-dollar monolith, without a doubt, the most influential individual. There's two. I guess Vince McMahon would be one, who also has, is sort of disgraced. But as an actual performer, I mean, Hulk Hogan, and we can talk about The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin and all that. Hogan was the originator that took wrestling from something that was in bingo halls and tiny little places to arenas and stadiums, and really built WrestleMania. So, I mean, listen, for people that are in wrestling, that loved it. I mean, obviously everybody knows Hulk Hogan. People have their own opinion of him, of what he was as a guy, but certainly he was the most influential athlete to ever do it. And it was a little shocking. I mean, he's been so public through all of these years, through everything that's happened. I mean, he was just out. I can't remember when that final appearance was, which was a very mixed crowd reaction, I will mention.
That was out in California or something recently.
It was whatever. I think it was the first night that WWE went to Netflix.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure whenever that was, sometime, I guess maybe it was the start of this year. Maybe it was the start of this year. But yeah, I mean, Hogan, listen, as a kid, I'm old enough to remember being a kid and Hulkamania running wild. And to your point about, listen, it was if you were a kid during any part of the 80s, the growth of wrestling around Hogan and, the Junkyard Dog and Andre the Giant, that was everything to kids. I'm with you. You say to your friend, says, oh, my brothers weren't into it. No way. They were. They probably just didn't get into it around you or maybe your parents.
You weren't paying attention.
Always sad to see somebody leave. His impact on the wrestling industry will obviously never be forgotten. And a little sad the way that he went out. Sort of being on the outs with the business and, turning a lot of people off. But at this point when guys are passing, I think you focus more on the positive. And this was a guy that did everything and really was the catalyst for the multi-gajillion dollar industry that it is right now.
Yeah, it's one where you have to separate the person from the art sometimes. And we don't know Hulk Hogan as a person, and he has his issues. I think it was him that left the voicemail on his daughter with using the N-word and stuff like that. He's got his personal issues, but as the entertainer, if we talk about Hulk Hogan, the persona that is in the ring that we saw on television, that we went and watched, it was must watch. You wanted to hear that music go. You wanted to see him rip off that shirt. You wanted to watch Hulk Hogan. Hernan Salas, one of our guys here, is talking about, the WrestleMania, I think it was 04 in Toronto with him and The Rock, and how big of a fight that one was. People will go to the Andre the Giant one. He is one of the top wrestlers of all time, one of the most, I'll trust you. I'll go with what you say there, the most influential wrestler of all time. And there is a line of separating those things. It just sometimes there's music that we still can listen to, even though the person might not be the best person. There's movies that we could still watch, even though some of the actors aren't the best people. We've got to separate sometimes the art from who they are in real life. And in this situation, when it comes to Hulk Hogan, the art is what he was on camera. The art is his persona when he was behind a microphone, cutting a program on television as Hulk. That's what we have to look at there. And it was just like I would say the music. And so that's probably one of my favorite of all time.
Yeah,
of the intro
the
music.
Real American, the Rick Derringer song. I mean, listen, he was, as a kid, we were being told, and maybe this is a good thing to have every kid to believe in, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and work hard, all that stuff. I mean, he was the quintessential good guy. What actually changed the wrestling business, not quite as much as his emergence and taking the WWF at the time to the front of pop culture and exploding it the way that he did. But when he left the WWE and went to WCW and was the third man in the NWO, that completely flipped the wrestling industry on its side as well, and took what was always a second-rate product in Atlanta to number one in the ratings in a head-to-head battle for 89 straight weeks, or 83 weeks, I think it was. So, I mean, that, and if you remember that, I mean, it's one thing as kids to see every kid wearing, a Hulkamania shirt. I mean, that's fast forwarding another 15, 20 years. And I'm sure you remember at a time where those NWO shirts were literally everywhere. And it was maybe the most successful gimmick of all time, in that they ran with it for about another year and a half, to the point where they killed the egg that basically laid the golden goose.
Well, we released a shirt, how long ago? It was a few months ago, with one of the stores in town, and it was NWO style. Like, it still holds NWO with everything. Big Maple in the Nasty Jets one. The day Hogan turned heel was probably the most shocking wrestling moment in my memory. And then that's more of the Hulk I remember, because that's when I was growing up, was him being NWO, all that. But there's almost multiple parts of the influence and power that Hulk Hogan had across the wrestling industry, which is the entertainment industry and all that. So it's, sad, but at the same time, hard life. When you're in the wrestling world, especially back in the 80s and stuff, what you're the travel that you're having to deal with, and there's no charters. There's no easy flights. You're flying different ways. You're going and getting places. The travel's difficult. The substances you're putting in your body. There's a lot that you're putting. You tested your body. You put your body through some sort of limits. PEDs. Potentially all that stuff. Very sad. Only 71. But it's also one, like, in terms of wrestling years. Like, that is, we don't see too many wrestlers that end up going to 90s or so like that, which is a shame as well. But that's just the history. We're seeing it a little bit with football from back in those days, of guys who just have their bodies have broken down because of the sports and stuff.
It's a great point, Matt. It's a great point. Like, I don't think casual people that maybe don't pay attention to pro wrestling understand what these performers put their bodies through. And you're exactly right. Like, there's no load management in pro wrestling. I mean, they're
200 plus nights
there, often on the tours. I mean, sometimes they were like, I don't think they do it as much anymore, but when house shows were such a bigger part of the business, like, there was a time where they would do a 1 o'clock show in Winnipeg, and then they're doing a 7:30 show in Fargo or Grand Forks or in Regina. Like, they worked those guys to the bone. And unfortunately, it cost many of them later on. But listen, pro wrestling would never be what it is today without Hogan, and it will not be the same moving forward. I am going to be quite interested as to how it's handled, like, by the WWE, just because of what a polarizing figure he was. And we remember the greeting that he got in that event. I mean, I think that they will, even with Vince gone, the McMahon family, Triple H, I mean, they'll do a respectful, goodbye for Hulk, and allow fans to, express their thanks, their grief, whatnot. But I mean, it was a bit of a shocker. I was just talking to Remus beforehand. He's a basket case. He was a Hulkamaniac, but he was also a huge Aussie guy. He's like, I can't take everything this week. It's just
well. There's the individual. I forgot his name. It wasn't Kernan. What was the guy's name from Cosby Show?
Oh, Theo. Malcolm Jamal Warner.
There it is. People say things bad happen in threes, and the three then this week. So, but yeah, like from Black Sabbath, the entire Aussie catalog that he has, his reality show, that was a big one. And then Hulk Hogan is equally as big in his ways. Those are massive, massive losses over the last couple of days. And I think WWE will do it well. I also think WWE fans will understand the moment and go, it's different. It's different from what happened in January. Like, this is a different type of time for that, and they will fully have it. I think. Would you expect something major tomorrow? Like, tomorrow they will do something on SmackDown. There's no question. You have to do it on the first show. But do you think the bigger stuff happens on Raw on Monday just because it's more of the marquee? Or do you think tomorrow's the day that they handle it?
Well, you know what? It's weird because here we get all of our shows now through Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, like, whatever you're watching WWE, that's where it is. I can't remember whether the Raw is Netflix, but the SmackDown is still on Fox.
Oh, you're right. I think they still had a deal for that, didn't they?
And if that is the case, if it's still on broadcast television, I don't know. And I mean, here's the other thing. When John Cena...
No, USA Network right now.
Oh, USA. Okay, so it is still on broadcast TV. So that's a great question. I'm sure they'll do something on both, to be honest with you. And probably just utilize the different stars that have been split from the two to give their 2 cents on the passing of him. But they still have lots to do because they're getting ready for SummerSlam, not this weekend, but the following weekend. So I know that they'll do something, and maybe even at their big SummerSlam event, there'll be some sort of tribute or something like that to Hogan. We'll see.
Some wrestlers coming out with the boa and stuff. You know it.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, it's sort of weird with Cena being the quote unquote bad guy right now, although that might be changing. He being kind of like the next cut, like Hulk Hogan was the ultimate babyface. And then for another generation, John Cena was sort of the Hulk Hogan for, really 2 more generations. So he would sort of be the guy that I would connect most with, the way that you connect most with him, or his memory. But I guess we will see. This is Jeff Hammond, R.I.P. brother. Yeah, there it is. Hey, I mean, obviously this is sort of a sad topic, but the other huge story today, Matt, we basically got to touch on. I know we'll be doing it on our respective shows. Is this Hockey Canada verdict? And now, is the verdict out right now, or the judge is in the process? I mean, I did see the judge reported that he didn't take the EM's testimony as, I can't remember. I don't want to misspeak on exactly what or
it wasn't credible. We couldn't find the testimony to be credible.
So listen, for the defendants, that's probably a good news. Like, and these were like, they were all being tried together, but they had different charges. So I'm not sure.
Well, I thought 5 of them they all had the same charge, if I'm not mistaken, but one of them had a second charge. If I'm not mistaken.
I think that was McLeod, who was like the ringleader, who kind of started that whole thing.
Yeah, I think she's still in the process of delivering her ruling, so it hasn't been done. Eric Macramella has spoken on it, so like I think everyone's now just under the assumption that it will be an acquittal. It is a tough one because we've all seen the documents, we've all seen the testimony, we've all seen the text message that the prosecution was allowed to put in to the trial. There's a reason why people don't come forward often, and a lot of people hide sexual assaults and don't go to the police. It's a very difficult conviction. It is he said, she said. In this case, it's 5 versus 1. The prosecution has to, beyond a reasonable doubt, prove the guilt because you start with innocence. The defense doesn't have to prove innocence. They just have to prove just a shred of doubt into testimony. This was always, to me, going to be difficult in the sense that it's 5 lawyers getting to speak to the victim.
Yeah.
And there's 5 different lawyers that could try to find a way to poke holes in the victim's story. And it's that at that point, it's going to be very difficult to get a conviction. It's not going to change my full opinion of these 5 individuals, but this is how the court system works. I pointed this out in the hangout. Like, OJ was found, he was acquitted. We all have our feelings of OJ Simpson because we've seen a lot that comes with it. But it's a tough day because it's just, this whole thing is bad all around. You know, it's not a great story. It's not a great situation that occurred. There's no real consequences, if you will, whether there should be or shouldn't be, in your opinion. Those are all for everyone to decide on.
The consequences were already happened. These guys have all lost their professional careers.
I don't say that they've lost it. That's a very fair point. I'll give you that. They've lost. Some of them are coming back to the National Hockey League. Carter Hart's coming back to the National Hockey League.
Stan Bowman sitting outside the courthouse right now. I don't want to make this joke like today.
No, but you're right. But you're right. Like there's someone that's going to give the job. And look, they are acquitted. There's no reason for, so in one ways you can argue, there's no reason that they shouldn't go get that job.
Here's the take, Matt.
Okay.
Listen, there was 7 years. This was 2018, if I'm not mistaken. So 7 years has passed. If they don't make the settlement and give her however much money she had and make it go away for all that time until it came back out and they do this, and the charges are made in a relatively timely manner, and say it still takes 2 years for the court case, but the court case is coming out in like if this verdict is 4 years earlier, I say there's zero chance these guys come back or even able to start their careers as normal. But I do think, like, we kind of went through that Me Too era, and let's face it, I mean, there was a ton of canceling. We know that what the term cancel culture means, and people have a different opinion on all of that. But I do feel that, like, the pendulum went to one side of society really big. It has swung back the other way. And I am sort of with you. Like, if you had asked me this 2 years ago, I said, whatever happens with this case, whatever. These guys are KHL. There will be no NHL team will risk their fan base losing faith in them by grabbing one of these guys, even if they're not guilty. I'm sort of with you right now. I think that where we are as a society coming back on the other side of the wave of cancellations, some very legitimate, some maybe not so much, that maybe one of the or two of these guys, and it'll be the ones that are the best. Like, it's going to be the good ones. It's not going to matter where they were on the scale of not guilty to guilty. It'll be the best players that might get a chance. And I would not have thought I would have said this a year or two ago, but I'm kind of with you. I do think that we might see the resumption of at least one or two of the careers, depending on where these young men are at after all of this. And I think there probably will be a team or two that'll be willing to give a second chance and put it out that way.
Well, some people are going to look at the Edmonton Oilers as one of those too, is, when you look at these businesses, and they are businesses, there was a lot of heat the Edmonton Oilers got for hiring Stan Bowman. There was a lot of heat from their fans. But here's the thing, and there are some fans that did follow through on this, but the majority of those fans that were upset last summer, you know what they were doing this past spring?
Partying and watching every single Oiler game on the way to the Cup final.
Exactly. There were some that gave up their tickets. There were some that stopped cheering for this team. I don't want to say that there weren't any of those. But a lot of the people that were upset back in the summer, I'm done with this, they continued with this team because the Oilers are almost winning a Stanley Cup. Now, if the Oilers weren't going to win a Stanley Cup, it would have been a lot easier to walk away from your fandom of the Edmonton Oilers, or for a period of time put it on pause because of the hiring of Stan Bowman. But hey, they're going for the Cup, and it's very easy in sports for people to just separate those things. And whether that's right or wrong, whether you think that's what you should do or shouldn't, that's up to everyone to decide on those. But I'm a Ravens fan. I remember the Ray Rice situation. I remember that even after the video came out, Ravens fans, there were a portion of Ravens fans that wanted to keep Ray Rice because he was a good running back for them, and they wanted to keep him around. That's just how the fandom does work. And the business is like, the Oilers are going to be an example that if they were a team and they need a goalie, so maybe that there is a connection. They could do this as an organization, hire Carter Hart. I wouldn't agree with it, but the Oilers know that they're still going to have people buying tickets, and they're still going to have people supporting them, because if Carter Hart goes and helps this team win a Stanley Cup, people are there in spring cheering for this team. And the business, it has been shown now that as much as you could weather the anger, because after wait 48 hours and it's going to pass. That's where we are now with this. You're right. The pendulum has swung back more towards that middle, where at one point it was completely like you could just get away with anything because you're a pro athlete. Then it swung to the other way that even if you did one small thing, it's go away. But now it's coming back.
Someone said you did it. Someone just said you did it. Yeah. And like there wasn't really, you were tried in the court of public opinion or on social media and it was over. So yeah, I am sort of with you. I think when you look at these teams, like I think the teams, the organizations, the crest is bigger than one player. Now, if your team continually goes down a pattern of judgment that is against your way of thinking and your morals, I mean, you may lose some people along the way. And I don't know whether anything happened. I mean, to me, like the Bowman thing, and I think you said, the heart situations are very, very different.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's this is sort of uncharted waters. The thing is, we'll talk about these players, and this is going to happen individually. The one thing that I want to say, and I hope we don't lose sight of this, and it's heartbreaking, embarrassing to me as a former Hockey Canada employee to see what happened to that organization and what it turned into. And I saw Greg Brady today saying that this, like what's happened with Hockey Canada hasn't been enough. He said he wants to puke every time he sees the crest and hears Hockey Canada mentioned. Like when you think about how long it had to go and the extent people in Parliament needed to go to finally get some change there, I mean, they kind of ran themselves like the freaking mafia.
Yeah.
And to have, like, I don't have kids, but I mean, if I'm sitting here, if I'm listening to the Lock Shop right now in Edmonton or in Winnipeg, and I had been paying registration fees and all this stuff for my kid to play hockey, and some of that's going to Hockey Canada, and they're putting millions of dollars in a slush fund to shut up accusers in situations like this just to make it go away with no accountability to the players. It is one of the great disgraces in the history of, never mind Canadian sport, I would say in Canadian history of powerful organizations that have huge stake in the public will because of how big this sport is. And I hope that we don't just move on, this is what happened with these 5 guys, because I think there's still a lot of work to do to get this organization in the right. And I know a lot of those people are gone, and I don't want to plant, like, there's probably a lot of people working there that weren't around there that are in charge of doing exactly that. But let's not forget how we got to this point in the first place and make sure that never happens again.
Fantastic point. And the only other thing I'll add to this all, I just, because these are always difficult. I feel for the victim. I hope other victims, because unfortunately we do live in a society where we can't snap our finger and sexual assault will go away. Unfortunately, it will happen at points, and I hope those victims that when it does happen have the courage and aren't afraid to step forward and speak of it, and aren't just going to push it aside because they know nothing's going to happen out of it. So it's just one of those situations. It's just awful in so many different ways. But yeah, it's in a recess, and we're just waiting for the official convictions. Or not convictions, acquittals. That's what we are all fully expecting here. But excellent point by you there, Huss. No easy transition, but we'll move on to the Canadian Football League. It is Week 8. We've got a slate of games.
What is it? I don't know. You maybe want to avoid this, but before we get to our CFL picks, how about them Blue Jays, Matt? The Jays.
Good for you guys.
What a series it is. Listen, Jays fans should be incredibly fired up right now. Listen, they're 6-1 in their last home games against the Yankees. They finally for the first time all season long, the Jays are the favorite to win the AL East after last night's game.
It wasn't before that.
No.
Wow.
Going into last night's game or into the series, the Yankees were still the favorite. So that has flopped. But I mean, for a team, and this is so funny because the Jays have been notoriously pumped up with big expectations at the start of the season, and they've come through just some miserable campaigns where they have completely underachieved and underperformed. This was the year that nobody thought they were capable of doing anything. Their win total was 78.5.
Yeah, all Jays fans handed their fandom card at the start of the season.
Weren't even getting excited.
I'm glad Jays fans are jumping on the bandwagon again.
That being said, but anyone that cheers for the Yankees, it's like cheering for the house in blackjack. It is nice to see. It is nice to see the people get a few wins against the house. From a Yankees perspective, though,
Aaron Boone should have been fired a couple of years ago, and they're never going anywhere as long as Aaron Boone's the manager.
This team can't play defense, dude.
Well, they have a terrible manager. It starts there.
That was embarrassing.
No, it never was going to go perfectly because, after the World Series, they needed to make a manager change. I came in this morning and Will Fraser looked at me as he was doing the morning show. He's like, dude, how have they not fired Boone? I'm like, I know. It's how it is. I will say this, though, to all the people in the nasty chat, I don't talk Jays. I don't talk baseball for the summer mostly on the Hangout. And I keep getting messages to talk Jays and all of that stuff. None of those messages came in yesterday. None of those messages. It came in on the first day, but nothing came in yesterday. So, I'm glad the bandwagon of the Toronto Blue Jays from Edmonton Sports Talk listeners is full right now because you weren't there at the start of the season. You weren't asking us to talk about the Toronto Blue Jays in April or May, but now they're good and you're jumping on it. When the Jays get bad again, when the Jays get bad in a couple of years, you're going to jump off just like you always do. Good job, Jays fans. Congratulations. You don't say anything when they lost, but you jump in when they win. And then when they're losing and they're not, like last year, none of you were coming on to EST telling me to talk about the Toronto Blue Jays. None of you guys didn't want me to talk about the World Series or any of baseball players from any of those teams. So congratulations to you bandwagon fans. And when the Jays don't win the World Series, you'll stop talking about them again. So congratulations to all of you.
They have gone down from 15-1 to 12-1 to win the World Series. Still 7-1 to win the AL. I think that's where the money is at. I don't know anyone beating the Dodgers, but to me, the American League right now, Matt, the American League is really wide open. The Jays are starting a 4-game series with the Tigers, who just happened to be playing their worst baseball of the entire year. They just got swept by the Pirates in 3 games. And Tarek Skubal, who's probably going to go back-to-back as the Cy Young Award winner, just had a kid, and he's gone on the bereavement leave or whatever. I'm not sure whether he gets back in time to get a start in this series, but it's a the Jays fans have been
here in
through
town,
a lot
full bandwagon Jays fans. Congratulations.
Well, I mean, listen, even if you are a big Jays fan, I mean, it's the same thing when, you've got the, say your NFL team absolutely sucks. I mean, are you banging on the talk show host? Hey, can you talk about the 4-12 Bears, please? And what's going on for next year? I mean,
hey, people in both of our cities, they'll talk about their favorite teams. People talk about Bombers. They'll talk about the Jets when they're doing bad. Here, people still talk about the Elks. But when the Jays go bad, it's all go away. But, now they're actually having a decent season. Oh, we could talk about them again. Awesome. Good job, Jays fans in Edmonton.
You're forced into talking about the Jays for the next month. It's going to be beautiful to see.
Yeah, and look, we'll see how, in the end, the only thing that does matter is the playoffs and the World Series. Am I expecting the Yankees to win it? No. But and generally in the Hangout, when I talk baseball, it comes playoff time. I don't talk about it during the rest of the regular season because there's not a lot to talk about. It's not, I personally don't follow the baseball. I'm not sitting down watching baseball games until usually September. So, but yeah, all these people wanting stuff. You are the savior of a bunch of people today in the nasty chat, Huss, because you brought up the Jays. But all these people who are complete bandwagon fans, awesome. How many of you own anything Toronto Blue Jays? Probably very few.
Hey, I will say the Jays are still the 4th pick. They aren't buying. The bookmakers don't seem to be buying in as much as a lot of the fans are. Tigers are the favorite to win the American League pennant. Then is the Yankees. Then is the Astros, and then a bit of a gap, and then the Jays and the Red Sox. But I will say that what the Jays have done in these head-to-head matchups with the Yankees, which have completely turned around their prospects for winning the division. I mean, when you look at the AL right now, and again, let's not let the Jays off the hook. They haven't won a playoff game since 2015.
Yeah.
I mean, incredibly underwhelming. But it does feel different this year. And when you look at the AL, they are tied with the Astros for the best record. And if they could finish top 2 and avoid a wild card round, man, go right into the best of 5, that would be huge, huge for Toronto. But I'll tell you, the one thing that will give us lots to talk about over the course of the next week is the deadline both for Toronto and everybody else. There's a real scarcity of arms. It seems everybody wants one, a few bats. And as great as the Jays have played, 18 games above 500 and all this excitement, if they really want to take a run, they're going to have to do a little bit more, or maybe a lot more at the deadline. And who's under more pressure than Atkins and Shapiro to make something happen? I mean, the funniest thing is that they've done all this despite Santander doing absolutely nothing their big offseason. Jimenez is basically at the Mendoza line. A couple of the relievers that they brought in the offseason have been nice contributors, but for the most part, it's guys like George Springer, which everyone had written off at the start of the year, being great. So
just like they wrote off the team
right now, and I love it. But let's get to the CFL because is it official?
Yeah,
Cody getting the start for the
first time ever playing against the Riders. Like since he left, he didn't play with Montreal. He in Saskatchewan. Like he's never gone to Saskatchewan and played the Riders when he went to the Als.
Funny. What's that? Where's the line at? How has that? Has it moved with the news of Juan Fajardo getting the start?
It has not.
So it's
we might have to get more because we're running out of time on the show here today. Maybe we'll be able to get to both of them. But like the Elks is tomorrow, Bombers is on Saturday, so we might have more time to do it tomorrow on the show. But the Elks, like it doesn't matter about the offense. I pointed this out. The highest scoring offense in the Canadian Football League is the Hamilton Tiger Cats at 31 points per game. The Edmonton Elks defense has given up on average 34 points a game. The Elks could literally have the best offense in the Canadian Football League, and they would still lose football games. It doesn't matter right now about who your starting quarterback is. If that defense doesn't stop Trevor Harris and the offense of the Riders, they're not winning that football game. So that's going to be the key focus for tomorrow. But Cody Fajardo is getting the start. He took majority of first team reps yesterday. They were splitting time earlier this week. So all indications were going to Cody Fajardo. And now that it is happening, what do you make of the decision to go to Cody over Trey?
I think it's the right decision in the short term because they got to find out a way to be more competitive and hopefully win a game. Now, I think it was you. It reminded me the Elks got off the schneid last year in Saskatchewan with an incredible performance from Trey Ward. So maybe this isn't
He's 2-0 in Saskatchewan.
But I do think that they need, listen, coming off of that BC game, it was just so ugly that, you got a guy that's won a Grey Cup, that's played, that'll be incredibly motivated to play well. I think probably has a little bit more veteran composure, probably might control the huddle a little bit better. Listen, you can't say based on what the Elks have done so far this year that there's a real compelling argument to stay the course. So let's see if you can win a football game and go in and, have Cody create an upset. I do think they've got a better chance of being competitive with him in, but you make a great point. I mean, I still can't get over the fact that they gave up a player had 30 carries and 174 yards in a CFL game against them at the same time that their quarterback threw for like 350. Your point is well said. Do whatever you want offensively. If you're just going to be giving up 35 or 40 points a game, it's going to be another long, long season. But listen, with where things are at in the West right now, this is a desperate time. There's a lot of urgency right now. And, for a rookie head coach that's coming in and sees what happens so far, I don't blame him for making that decision.
It's just also weird, though, because the two prior games to the BC, it was perfect against Ottawa, and he looked really good against Winnipeg. And then one bad game, making a big switch there. But we'll see how it plays out. For the Bombers,
it's not like they're announcing him like this is our guy for the rest of the year.
No, I think
Trey Ford's going to be back behind center.
Well, but look, if Cody wins some football games, you're sticking with Cody in that point. The big thing is if they lose a close one, I think you're sticking with Cody against Hamilton next week. If you don't look good, if he doesn't look good, it's kind of like where do you go from here? I think from the Elks' perspective, it's one they looking at what's best way to keep developing Trey because he still needs to be developed. He's not an established number one quarterback as of yet. There is a development that is still necessary. And maybe sitting some time is that thing. And, if Cody goes, 2-3 over the next little bit or, then you can maybe go back to Trey or something like that. But maybe it's just some time sitting on the sideline for him to get that development. So, I don't think it's the end. It also can't be the end. I'll just outright say that because the contract Trey has in 2027 is $400,000 hard money. So, you're kind of committing to this guy being that future of this franchise. Otherwise, I don't know how you're getting out of $400,000 in hard money. There are no buyouts in the Canadian Football League type thing. So it's they still need to work at developing. So they're not throwing him out by any stretch of the imagination. This is one I would say if we had Mark Killam sitting next to me right now or Ed Hervey and you asked why are they making this move, it'd be one, it's best for winning football games right now and also works for the development of Trey Ford. How surprised were you that Zach Collaros was back at practice this week and it doesn't seem like he's going to miss any time?
Well, it's funny you asked that because I was at the game. I was sitting right behind the Bomber bench, and he came off the field, and he walked straight into the dressing room. We never saw him again. And knowing Zach's history, for concussions and whatnot, I thought that this could be – it kind of felt like a moment that could completely deep six their season. We were getting ready to do the show on – was it Monday or Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday. And Ed Tate from BlueBombers.com had put out a thing saying, hey, we've got our weekly handled internally podcast. Pat Neufeld's going to come on, and he'll join myself, Darren, Cameron, and Zach Collaros. So the second I heard that Zach Collaros was doing the podcast, I all of a sudden had a lot of optimism that he was going to be in there. And it's what a 2025 thing to be getting injury reports based on whether a guy's going to do a pod or not. But he talked about it right off the bat. He said it was more precautionary just based on everything that had happened before. So I'll tell you what, it's huge for Winnipeg because I think we saw that, while with a full week of preparation and a good game plan against a mediocre team, the Bombers can maybe win with Chris Streveler. He certainly didn't look like that same guy in the second half, making those mistakes that really flipped the game for Calgary. So listen, it's great for the Bombers, but as I say, what are you seeing that line for the Bomber Argo game right now?
-5.5 for the Bombers.
5.5. Take the Argos. Take the Bombers at
take
their
the
best.
Argos.
Take the Argos. I didn't feel comfortable taking the Bombers at 3. This is going to be a 1-point game, a 2-point game. I would love to be wrong and see the Bombers go in there and roll them out. At their best throughout this Grey Cup era, they've struggled in Toronto and lost a lot of games there, never mind being close. And again, we've talked about, the big line movement in the CFL. If the line's moving one way, wait, and then jump on the other side. It happened 3 times last week. I think it's going to happen again with this in that I think, listen, if Toronto can go into Montreal and lose a 1-point game, a game that they should have won, they at home against a team that they've had a lot of success against that hasn't looked very good in the last 2 weeks can absolutely play a tight game. I'm stunned that the line is as high as it is in this Winnipeg-Toronto game. And I think it's a lot of people that maybe, no Chad Kelly, Zach Collaros is playing, Bombers are good, do it. It's a lot more difficult than that. I would be stunned I'd be happy, but I would be stunned if the Bombers won this game by 6 or more.
That's interesting. I'm just not sold on the Argos. I know they've got a bit of injuries happening on the defensive side of the ball again a little bit. So, and I'm just never sold Nick Arbuckle. So I'll have to think that's just hearing from that from you might have to change my opinion. Tonight we've got Stamps. We got Als. It's -7 for the Stampeders. MBT starting for the Montreal Alouettes. What chance do you give them to cover?
Well, now that it's up to 7, a much better chance than I had before. We were thinking, I think this game opened up at 6. And I was like, definitely, I think Calgary is a better team with Davis Alexander being out. It's really too bad he got injured at the end of the game because how good would this be right now if we had Davis Alexander and Vernon Adams going at it, both healthy in a 1-versus-1. When Calgary beat Winnipeg, it's like, was this just a big stinker from the Bombers, going into the bye week? We'll see. Calgary did lose at home to Ottawa in that weird game. And then they went into Saskatchewan and laid it on them and then did the same thing in Winnipeg last week. Calgary has given us absolutely nothing to not believe in them so far. And I think the Alouettes have sort of been up and down and certainly are a different team with Davis Alexander than with Cloud Bethel Thompson. That being said, I really like the Alouette defense. I think they've got a ton of weapons. 7 is a lot. I would have preferred to get it, and I did get it earlier this week at 5.5, 6, 6.5. But man, the way the Stamps are rolling right now with that defense, I think I'm still laying it on. I think I'm still taking Calgary for what it's worth.
Calgary this season in their wins. They beat Hamilton by 12. They beat Toronto by 10. They lost to Ottawa, so I'm sticking with wins. They beat Winnipeg by 21, I think that is. They beat the Riders by 14. They beat the Bombers by 21. We had a chat earlier this season about the Bombers, maybe that anytime, like, unless they're going up against the topper team, almost like if you could get a touchdown, you'd even take them, at a touchdown type thing. I think I'm there with the Stampeders right now. I think I could give the Stampeders, I'd go a little bit more than a touchdown, where I would take the Stampeders to cover, because that defense is just so good right now. And that defense has, that team overall has just put up an impressive 3 straight games, beating the Bombers twice and beating Saskatchewan. That MBT-led Montreal, as good as that defense is, the Stampeders, I don't know how they turned this around so quickly. I don't know how they made their team so good so quickly, with 1 or 2 down years, and they're right back to being one of the best. But I see 7. I'd almost be comfortable taking the Stampeders right now at 10. That's where they are this season.
Well, I'm glad the line isn't that high. I mean, I think back to the 20-point wins over Winnipeg. Caleros had 2 pick sixes in the first one. Strevler had a pick 6, as well as a turnover on the goal line that ended up eventually being a touchdown the other way. To me, this could be a close game if McLeod Bethel-Thompson plays well and takes care of the football. But again, we'll see. It's easier said than done so far, because they've done this to some pretty good players so far this year. So I'll ride with you as well on Calgary for tonight's game. But I might have to. I'm going to try.
I'll see what I can get, because Calgary spread -7. I might try to add a Stampeders turnover, they force a fumble or an interception, and put that up as a parlay for tonight.
There's MBT to throw a pick.
MBT pick, yeah. MBT pick, Calgary money on the spread. Look for that in EST specials at PlayAlberta, playalberta.ca. We just got a few more minutes left. We'll have to. We'll go closer to the Elks, Riders, Bombers, Argos, Ticats, Lions a little bit tomorrow. But
we can put together a 3-gamer for the weekend tomorrow.
We'll do that. But it's Ticats being the underdog going out to BC. You agree with that?
I mean, listen, I think I'm going to take, I definitely jumped on Hamilton at 3.5 when it was hung earlier this week. I'm seeing it's now 3 and maybe closer. I think this will probably, to me, I think I said this to you right off the bat. To me, this sort of feels like it should be more like a pick'em, like a closer game. I don't really know why. If these teams were playing on a neutral field right now, would Hamilton not be a 2 or 3 point favorite? I think they would be. So even if we're going to give BC the 3 points for home field and realize, Hamilton's got to travel all the way across the country, I think what Hamilton's done so far in this 4-game winning streak has been so impressive that I don't know whether you really need to be giving BC any points at home. I mean, as they say, I think I would lean Hamilton, I think, in this case. But what's going to be so much fun is just watching this game, Matt. The total for the game's 55.5. I mean, both of these teams could put up 30 points.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm a little bit on the fraud watch, a little bit of the Ticats, just with who they've beaten so far this season. But I don't believe in BC right now, because all they've done look good against is the Edmonton Elks. And
you can say the same thing again about BC.
Oh, yeah, but I don't even say fraud. I think they are I would have them as frauds a little bit right now, because they're 3 wins, 2 against Edmonton and 1 against the MBT Montreal, where they got a late field goal to get the victory. I'm not sold on the BC Lions, and I wasn't sold on them coming into the season. So I would like Hamilton a little bit more. That's why I'm liking the number I'm seeing from Hamilton early on, and that's might be something to get to. I just also want to jump quickly before I let you go. 3M Open. I don't know if you've seen first round action. Canadian, Adam Svensson, top of the leaderboard, shooting a first round 60, 11 under, 2 shots up on second.
60?
Yeah, first round, round 160. 3 Canadians in the top 7, T7 or better.
I saw Jake put out a tweet. They were all fired up about Svenny putting together that round, but holy smoke,
60.
11 under par. And then Ben Silverman at 5 under and Hadwin also at 5 under right now.
Yeah, Svensson eagled his last hole.
Oh, what a performance by Svenny. Yeah, finished it off with he went out in 30, in 30. I mean, one more birdie and you're talking about the 59 club. What a performance. Just looking at the shot too. I mean, the confidence that he had. He put it to, it looked like he put it to about 20 feet over the water, like 230 yards over the water to get onto the green and then sank the putt. What a round for Adam Svensson. That's good news. Hopefully the Canadians, I mean, this is one of these tournaments that guys like Svensson that, aren't in some of the bigger events or had a tough time making cuts, come in sometimes against a weaker field, start feeling confident about themselves. And certainly that's the best round that he's had on tour all week long. So should be good to get to the weekend and then see if he can make some noise on Sunday.
Ricky Fowler right up there as well, which is always fun to watch. Ricky Fowler. Haas, what's coming up on WST in just a few minutes?
Oh, we've got lots. We're going to do Connor Rabchak has done a bit of a deep dive into the Jets' top prospects. So we're going to have a segment on that. Dennis Bernstein from the fourth period will jump on. Josh Frey-Sam from Bomber practice. And we're also going to have Braxton Kuntz, who won the last 4 Manitoba Amateur Golf Championships. Ooh. He's on his way to the Canadian, where he finished 3rd last year. But just a couple days ago down in Kansas City, he shot a 5 under to qualify for the US Am at the Olympic Club, which is probably one of the top 30 courses in the world, playing against greats. So we're going to catch up with Braxton before he heads out to the Canadians. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun show. I'm sure Remus is going to be mourning Hulk Hogan, so we'll probably touch on that as well. And obviously wait for official word from the Hockey Canada trial as well. So a pretty packed show coming up in about 5 over on our channel at WST.
Haas, great stuff. Always enjoy this. We'll do it again tomorrow. Enjoy WST coming up in just a few minutes.
Lots of fun, Maddie. Thanks so much.
There's Haas. Check out him and Remus. Winnipeg Sports Talk on YouTube. They're coming up in 5 minutes right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, presented by Play Alberta. We got 2 guys and a goalie, Reed, Gage, or Cass. We've got EST Afternoons. We've got the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne. And then at 6 o'clock on our audio channels, we will have Turf District tonight as well. And then we'll have some Riverhawks action as they're out on the road. Thank you to everyone for tuning into the Lock Shop presented by Play Alberta. Reminder of those promo codes, EST Sports and YEG50. Sports, deposit 20, get a 50 free bet. YEG50, deposit 5, get a $50 free bet. On behalf of Haas, I am Matt. Thanks for tuning into the Lock Shop here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. 2 guys coming up in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.